If you're leading at a high level and your days feel more crowded than intentional, I'm opening something new for you. The Women's Executive Leadership Lab is launching now in beta. It's a small, practical community for experienced women who want to develop the systems that support strategic action, not constant crisis, who want to learn how to delegate with confidence, knowing the work will be done to your standard and timeline, and connect with other amazing women who are shaping industries and improving lives. Head to womenleadwell.net/well to learn more. Welcome to Joyfully Unstoppable, the podcast for women who are ready to succeed without the stress. Whether you're leading a team, a classroom, a boardroom, or your own big, beautiful life, I am so glad you found us. I'm your host, Becky Hamm, leadership coach, speaker, and founder of Women Lead Well. Hello, I hope you are doing well. Spring has sprung. It's raining today outside my window, but we're going to have temperatures in the 70s. I am so excited. My grandpa was a farmer. He was a long-haul trucker. When he retired, he became a farmer. And he and my grandma lived on 10 acres outside of Trinity, Texas, where he grew everything, all of the things. And it was our favorite thing to do as kids, to go spend a week on the farm over spring break or in the summer and just help grandpa in the garden and pick dewberries, which are like blackberries, that were growing wild along the fence line, and strawberries and snap peas, and help grandma shell the peas and just do all of the things. I unfortunately did not inherit my grandpa's green thumb, but I did inherit his enthusiasm for working the land. So I sowed my seeds, many of them like a month or more ago. They are growing, except for my watermelon seeds. They're not coming up. I just sowed those about a week ago, so those were a little bit later. You start them later. But I want them to get going. And then my husband wanted Okinawan sweet potatoes, so got those, and you don't stick them in the ground like potatoes. You stick them halfway in the ground and they grow slips, like they grow these green kind of vines coming off, and then you plant those vines. Well, I'm not getting any slips yet. It's only been a week. It's okay. I'm worried, but I am not heartbroken yet. We're going to get there. But I hope wherever you are, that you are seeing the signs of spring and things are turning green and your allergies stay in check, and we can just enjoy the season before the crazy heat of summer shows up. Here's what we're going to talk about today. I was hoping for a segue would appear magically. It didn't. So we're just going to jump into it. Today, we are going to talk about a fundamentally important leadership task, and that is how to delegate. I deal with so many amazing women, high capacity women who are crushing it professionally. I deal with more senior women inside the Women's Executive Leadership Lab, my membership program that launched last month. But I work with women across the spectrum, from more junior, just starting out their careers, up to more senior VP, C-suite level women. And this desire to maintain control over the work that you're currently doing is shared. That is common. And and your willingness to delegate tasks is weak, non-existent in a lot of cases. And so let's talk about it. Back, if you go to episode 44, so just a couple of episodes ago, I talked about how to prioritize, and I gave you my 4D model of ditch, delegate, delay, and do. And what I said was that first triage point, that first question you ask yourself is this important or not? If it's not important, you ditch it. You don't delegate unimportant work to anybody, right? So let's say it is important work. Is it work that only you can do? Because if it's work that only you can do, then you've got to do it. Then maybe you do it today if it's urgent, that's your due. Or if it's not urgent, maybe you delay it until you've got a little bandwidth or a little white space on the calendar to do it. You control the when if it's not urgent. But if it's important work, but someone else could do it, that's the work you delegate. And I hear you. I hear the women who I have worked with in the past saying, well, okay, Becky, I can identify what to delegate, but I don't have any confidence that if I delegate it, that it would be done well. It's not done to my standard. It's not done on my timeline. Maybe I'm a control freak and I just want to do it all myself, but I don't have any faith or confidence that if I delegate it, it's going to get done right. And so let's dig into that. So step one, what do you delegate? That work that is important, but that not only you can do. There is someone else who can today step into that role, or with a little bit of training can step into that role and complete that task. So easy. You can identify the what to delegate fairly simply. And if you're struggling with that, well, then just shoot me a DM. Let's talk it out. Okay, so then who do I delegate it to? If I want to have confidence that this task is done well, then you don't just give the task to anybody. Remember, it's an important task. If it weren't important, you'd have ditched it. And so when you think about who should you delegate this task to give it the highest probability of being done to your standard, I'm going to give you 3 things to look at. First is zone of genius. You guys know Gay Hendricks. I think I've talked about him before. I've talked about zone of genius on this podcast before, I feel like. But a giant leap, a big leap, a great leap, I forget the name of the book, but he's the individual who has identified zones of genius. We have zones of competence, which are things that we can do, but they kind of drain us. We have zones of incompetence, which are the things we just aren't good at doing. And all of us have zones of incompetence. That's not a character flaw. That's just our brains work in different ways. Our energies flow in different ways. There are things we're good at and things we ain't good at. So you have zones of incompetence. And then we all have zones of genius. And those are the things that we do really well that light us up. There are energy engines. They give us energy. They excite us, where you lose track of time. You get in the zone and it all melts away and you're just laser focused on this thing that you're doing. All of us have zones of genius. And so when you're thinking about delegating, who do I give this task to? Question number 1, does this task align with someone's zone of genius? If it's an admin task, do you have an admin queen on your team? Someone like, I am not the admin queen. I can do it. It's my zone of competence, but I don't enjoy it and it drains my energy. There are people who freaking love that work, right? And so is this task in somebody's zone of genius? And you can ask your team. You can say, hey, I'm going to delegate this task. Anyone excited for it? And let them give you input. They might self-identify it's in their zone of genius. That doesn't mean you give them the task. We have a couple other questions to think through. But step 1 is you want to start with that alignment where you can find it. The next question you want to ask yourself is, does this task align with any of my team members' professional growth? All of the people on your team are somewhere in their developmental journey. More junior, more senior, more specialized, more generalist. Everyone's in a certain space. Could this task help a member of your team grow? And now, eyes wide open, you recognize if this is a growth opportunity for them, then you be super clear. I'm wagging my finger for those of you watching on YouTube, or for those of you who aren't seeing me on YouTube. Be super clear that if they're growing into it, they're not going to be great at it to start with, right? So we're going to talk here in a second on how to delegate, and I'm going to talk about setting clear expectations. You got to set the expectation for yourself. That if this is a professional development opportunity for someone, as opposed to them walking in having done this kind of a task before and able to pick it up and hit the ground running, but if this is a growth opportunity, then you need to think to yourself, how long reasonably will it take for this person to become competent to perform this task, and how long will it reasonably take for them to excel at completing this task, whatever the thing is that you're delegating. But it is brilliant for you to delegate tasks as an opportunity to grow your team professionally. You are signaling to them that you're invested in their growth, that how they grow is something that you think about and that you strategize toward, and you're setting them up to grow, to be stronger 1, 2, 3, 4 months from now than they are today. You're investing in the future health and strength of your team. So 1, zone of genius. Does the task align with something that a person is just excited to get to do, and then professional growth. Is this task something that will help one of your current team members grow and develop professionally to move them to that next level? And then question number 3 is the brass tacks, and that is, who on your team has the capacity to take on this task? Across industries, across sectors right now, the workforce is shrinking. The number of people we have to do the growing amount of work is shrinking. And so you want to think about who on your team has the capacity to pick up this new task, because the person in whose zone of genius the task resides, or for whom it would be a great professional development opportunity, if they're already working at 120, 130, 150% of capacity, throwing one more thing on their plate does not set them up for success, and it doesn't set your task up to be accomplished well. And so you do need to be clear-eyed in terms of identifying a person who has the capacity. And you can get creative about this, right? So if the person who should take on the task, because it's in their zone of genius, it's a developmental opportunity, if they don't have the capacity, maybe you can see whether it's possible to reassign one of their tasks to another member of the team where it might better align with their zone of genius or provide them with a development opportunity so that the first individual can take on this task that you're trying to delegate. So you might have to get creative about how you are realigning tasks within your team, but those are the 3 criteria that I would encourage you to play with: zone of genius, development opportunity, and capacity. Okay, so great. So you have picked the person that you want to delegate to. How do you do it? Well, I'm going to tell you a few things. I'm going to say, 1, you got to set real clear expectations for you in terms of how long is it going to take this person to get up to speed, and for them in terms of what right looks like. So if you've got examples of the task that has been completed and done well, share that with the individual. If you've got examples of when the task failed to meet the mark, right? So what failure looks like, share that with the individual. You're going to sit down and talk them through all of this, but you just want them to know, what is the target that I'm trying to hit? You want to get real clear on why the task is important, what makes it an important task and not an unimportant task. This is just a straight up start with why. When people can understand why they're doing something, 1, they're more motivated to do a good job, but 2, that context helps them put pieces together so that they can take the actions that they need in order to succeed, to get the task done effectively. Without that context, people are kind of swimming in the dark, and that doesn't always go well. So be very clear. What does right look like? Why are you doing this stinking task to begin with? What are your expectations for updates on the task? Are you send me an email once a week and let me know where we are on this? Are you I want to see a draft before it goes live? Are you I want to be part of the brainstorming before you even do the draft, and then I want to chop the draft and then, right? Don't micromanage. We'll talk about that in the next step. But what are your expectations for how this handoff of the task is going to work? Again, eyes wide open. And then the final thing that I would say here, I think it's about setting clear expectations. If you're the individual who's been doing the task for a long time, you probably have a ton of implicit knowledge about how to get the task done. And so again, this is an expectation for you, but set a clear expectation with yourself that you are going to take as much of that implicit knowledge as the new individual needs to succeed in accomplishing the task and make it explicit. Maybe it is that you brain dump how you've done the task in the past. Maybe it is that you pull together a file of the past examples of the task, or if there are guidance documents or any parameters, any regulatory requirements the individual needs to know to complete the task, that you take all of that information that's in your brain and you put it into a format that the new task owner can use. Second thing you're going to want to do is to clarify authority and autonomy. When does this new task owner need to come to you with questions for you to make a decision on how they move forward? And when do they have the authority to move forward on their own? And along with this, because you're passing a task that you used to do to somebody on your team who is junior to you, you might want to, I'm going to say probably going to want, depending on the task, but you're probably going to want to send an email out to all of the stakeholders to say, so-and-so is now doing this. If they reach out to you for inputs or for feedback or for whatever, they are acting as me in the accomplishment of this task, right? You will treat them as you treat me. Maybe don't say it like that, but you know what you want to communicate that this individual has the same authority when it comes to this task that you held at your position. Because sometimes when someone more junior shows up asking for things, people might blow them off. If you clearly communicate that you expect them to do their job and to answer the questions in a timely and professional manner, you're setting your team member up for success. That new task owner is going to have an easier time collaborating across the organization to accomplish the task. Next thing, when it comes to how to delegate, is you want to establish check-in points. And this can either be on the calendar, and so you have a regular check-in with that team member once a week, once every other week, and so you'll get updates on the task at that point. Or if the task is more milestone driven, then maybe you want to establish checkpoints ahead of each milestone. So if it's a report that you've delegated drafting, then maybe there's a milestone at the brainstorming phase, a milestone at the outlining phase, a first draft phase, or completion of a particular section, a draft of a particular section. Maybe you want to lay in checkpoints for each of those. So think of this just as typical program management, right? When would it make sense to talk to the individual about the task and provide feedback on the task, but establish those touch points day one? Again, it's all about clarity of expectation and setting the person up for success so that they feel like, so that they actually have the support that they need to succeed. And then this ties into my last point, which is over communicate. Again, you've got a ton of implicit knowledge, and so it might seem obvious to you as you are sharing this information. If you've been listening to Joyfully Unstoppable and thinking, this is exactly what I've been wrestling with, coaching is where we take it further. In private one-on-one sessions, we apply these ideas directly to your leadership, your decisions, and your goals. You bring the real challenge. I bring the structure, the strategy, and the accountability. If you're ready to lead with more clarity, confidence, and joy, book a discovery call now, and let's strengthen the way you show up and lead. But it doesn't always feel obvious to the people who are receiving the information. And so over-communicate with the new task owner, check in more often in the beginning with the new task owner, but then also over-communicate with the stakeholders. Remind people a couple of times who the new task owner is and that they are the one working on the task, and that any question should go to them and not you. You don't want it to come up that you're unintentionally undermining this individual's authority on the task because people just remember to come to you, so they come to you and you're helpful, and so you want to just knock it out. And so you just answer the question, or you provide the feedback, or you're continuing to manage it while they're responsible for it. That's not a good scenario for anyone. So over-communicate the transition, that the delegation has occurred and who they need to reach out to for the task going forward. Last thing that we're going to talk about real quick before we wrap it up, and this is a quick overview. I go into much greater detail inside the Women's Executive Leadership Lab. And so if you want a deeper dive into how to delegate and do it effectively, surrounded by a community of other women who are doing the same thing, check out Well. I think you'll be interested in it. But let's talk about, okay, you've handed the task off. How do you supervise the task once it's delegated? Is it that you hand it off, wipe your hands, and you're done? No, especially not if you have handed this task off to someone who is developing into the task. If this is professional development for them and they're growing into the task, no. Guardrails, training wheels, you are going to be involved for a little bit of time. And let me pause here and say this. I can hear the objection of, well, if I need to continue to supervise the task, particularly if I have to be involved because the person is learning the task, then it's quicker for me just to do the task. And I want to say, yeah, today it is quicker for you to do the task. 6 weeks from now, 3 months from now, that other person, that new task owner, is going to have the task in hand. They are going to be up to speed, and you are going to get all of that time back compounded over, because you're never going to have to do that task again. So it's the same principle of compound interest. You invest a little bit of time now to get them up to speed, and then you just reap the benefit of the time back on your calendar in perpetuity. So yes, I absolutely know it takes a little bit of time in the beginning, and you might be thinking, I'm not getting time, this is taking time, it's not worth it. I want to be very clear with you. It is worth it in the long run. You just have to stick with it. Whatever that time frame is that you've decided, however long it's going to take the new task owner to get up to speed, that's your investment period. And after that period, all you're doing is reaping the rewards. You're going to have a stronger team member, a stronger team, and white space back on your calendar so you can spend your time on the important tasks that only you can do. It is worth it, I promise you. And again, if you ever run into any snags, just reach out. I will talk to you. We'll jump on a Zoom, complimentary. We will work it through, and I will get you where you want to be. Okay. How to supervise the delegated tasks. You're going to do a couple of things. One, you're going to hold those regular check-ins. And I'm serious about this. Don't put it on the calendar and then cancel it because something urgent pops up. Hold the regular check-ins. While you are in those regular check-ins, you want to give useful advice. What do I mean by useful advice? I mean, one, advice that is clear. Clarity is kind. This is not the place to be nice and say, oh yeah, it looks good, when actually it doesn't. No. You want to be clear about, one, what is working. So you do want to praise the successes, right? So what is working in what the individual is doing? And then two, what are the deficiencies that might provoke a critical failure? What is going to cause this task to fail? Don't be like fixing the grammar and the punctuation. Don't be nitpicking in the beginning stages of someone taking over the task. Focus on the critical elements of the task. And once those critical elements are smoothed out, then you can move down to the elements that are important but less of a priority. Does that make sense? So start with the big guns, right? One, praise the successes, and then two, any critical failures, anything that's going to cause the task to fail, to not work, address those and only those in the beginning. Be clear, be direct. Don't be rude. You can be professional and direct at the same time. You are saying, this is the standard I gave you. This is what right looks like. Here's where you are. How do you, new task owner, how do you evaluate these two relative to each other? Are they comparable? Is your task above or below, right? Get them to be thinking about, what does it take to get to right? Where am I relative to that? And then you provide the clear guidance of, this is what I see needs to happen for us to hit the mark. You provide any context that you need to provide. Maybe if it's a report, they left out higher level guidance or regulatory restraints or a data source or whatever it is. It'll be unique for each task. You give that context. You give the context of the significance of failing to include that element or failing to meet the mark. What happens if they don't get it right? But through all of this, make it as collaborative as possible. You want the team members' input. One, because the more they think through their performance on the project in light of the standards that you're setting, the better they're going to meet the standards. And then two, all of us receive feedback better when we feel like it's a conversation as opposed to like a finger pointy, this is what you're messing up. So just to motivate them to do a better job, having a collaborative exchange is going to be more productive. So those are your 3 C's to give useful feedback: clarity, context, and collaboration. And now look, I recognize that things don't always go smoothly when you delegate a task. And I hope that walking you through these questions of who do you delegate to, how do you hand the task off, and then how do you supervise the task over time, sets you up to have a smoother transition. Inside of the Women's Executive Leadership Lab, I also teach women, what do you do when it's not working? And so if you are committed to delegating and being effective at delegation so that you can focus exclusively on the work that only you can do, then I would really encourage you to take a look at Well and see if that membership might be a good fit for you. Just look at womenleadwell.net/well, W-E-L-L. Okay. Next week, I hope you will join me as we take a look at how chronic busyness impacts our focus and our follow-through. I think a lot of us would self-identify as being chronically busy, and so I hope that this episode will be useful for you. Now, if today's episode spoke to you, I would love for you to share it with a friend who has too much on her plate. We need more women leading from alignment, not adrenaline. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you could leave a review, I would really, really appreciate it. Also, you can always grab one of our resources. There's the 90-day leader development plan available on our website, along with free resources like the weekly reset routine and the mental load reset. Remember, joyful, sustainable, and authentic leadership is possible, and you deserve to enjoy every minute of it. Until next time, I'm Becky Hamm, and this is Joyfully Unstoppable.